Okay, so what are three things that I would start with if I was trying to use a natural approach for my endometriosis? So sometimes I'll get a client who is just at the beginning of their journey. They maybe have just had a surgery and they really want to use a natural approach to try and manage their endometriosis a bit better, but it can feel overwhelming. There's so much information now around natural health and using diet and supplements, and so sometimes we get so overwhelmed that we don't do anything because we don't know what's correct and really the best way forward. So today I want to share three things that really give you a little bit of guidance in terms of where to start within using natural methods. The first one is to look at what you're eating. I know this is a given, but it's not about necessarily following the right diet type. So it doesn't mean just because you go paleo or keto or vegan or whatever label you want to give it, that those are necessarily healthy. We can eat any of those diets badly. So there are easily foods that you could be eating that are actually part of the picture of why you may not feel better. And that's why there's so much controversy about which of the diets to follow with endo, because for some women, they might go paleo and find real relief, and then somebody else tries it and they don't. And that's because the food choices within these diets aren't necessarily super clear. So here's what I invite you to do. Focus on the foods that truly nourish your particular body. So if you notice that a particular food creates more gas, for instance, then that food is not right for you at this time. It may become right later, but at this moment in time, it's possibly not your best food choice. So focus on foods that really nourish. What does that mean exactly? Because that can be confusing. So shift away from things that are in a box. Focus on foods that are grown, and preferably focus on foods that are organic, or at least try and get them from a farmer's market. The reason for that is that when fruits and vegetables are mass produced, they're grown in an environment where the plant doesn't need the same level of strength to combat bugs and pests and all of that. When a plant is grown organically, it actually needs to fend for itself. And the way that the plant does that is by having lots and lots of strong nutrients within it. And where does it get that? From the soil. So this is the key reason we want to actually have organic produce, or if you can't go organic from the supermarket, try and go to markets where often they are grown organically. They just don't want to go through the process of getting that organic labeling, which is really expensive for a farmer. Or even better, grow your own, and you'll learn about what soils to use and how the soil influences the strength of the plant. Now, as you can imagine, if you eat a plant that has been grown in the most nourishing soil, well, it's going to provide you with a lot more nourishing goodies for your body. And then when your body has all those goodies and is really well nourished, it will naturally feel better. So your number one focus is focusing on really nourishing your body and finding the foods that can do that. The most obvious logical food sources are natural plants and vegetables. That's where you're going to get the most nourishing foods. Of course, we can go into nitty-gritties, and I am launching a course just for that. But to keep this simple, focus on your fruits and vegetables. The second thing that I would recommend you do is really look at, are you moving your body in some way on a consistent basis? Now, ideally, you want to focus on forms of exercise that don't drive up cortisol levels, so they don't make you feel more anxious or stressed. This is not something I encourage when the body is already experiencing pain. So HIIT exercises, kickboxing, running, these things can drive up cortisol, which isn't necessarily going to help you A, lose weight, but B, reduce the pain and symptoms associated with your endometriosis. So focus instead on forms of exercise that really focus on muscle building and muscle toning, and exercises that actually alleviate stress. So when we are stressed, we naturally hold on to fat more. And it's that elevated cortisol that makes our bodies retain fat. So if you're doing exercise for fat loss, then you don't actually want to be focusing on those high impact type of exercises. You really want to just lower your stress levels. And this is why I'm such a huge fan of yoga, because yoga allows you to build muscle, lower stress, and it really has shown to alleviate so many of the symptoms associated with endometriosis, like pain, adhesion pain, the tightness that you might feel in your abdomen. It really allows you to alleviate some of those. We do have a free 30-day yoga challenge, which may be of interest to you, where you can explore this idea of yoga. And it's really wonderful because it takes you based on where you are in your cycle as to which sessions you want to be focusing on. So sessions which are lighter on the body during, just before your period and during your period. And then when you have more energy, so the beginning of your cycle is where we want to focus on those kinds of sessions. So it's a really lovely challenge that we've created, and it's 30 days of free access. And then after that, it's very inexpensive. So really wonderful gift to you to use to help you with moving your body and alleviating so many of the associated symptoms like pain and adhesions that are really tight in the abdomen. The third one is really focusing on alleviating stress in your body. So stress and anxiety is actually a bigger trigger of pain than anything else that you might be doing. So if you find yourself getting stressed about what you're eating, that's actually counterintuitive in terms of feeling better. What you want to do is just go, is this nourishing my body? Is it not nourishing my body? And that's your only decision in that time. So really looking at your life and what is causing you to feel stressed. Now, a lot of the time, stress isn't really the incident or the situation that is causing you stress. It's more the feeling of whether you have control over that situation that is causing you stress. When we feel out of alignment, out of control, or we don't know a solution, or we feel that it illustrates something about ourselves that we don't like, or we fear that others are going to judge us wrongly, that is actually the true trigger of that stress. So, for instance, you might be at work and somebody says something to you that then automatically makes you feel on some level stressed. When you look at that a little bit deeper, you might discover that actually the reason you feel stressed is because that comment that person made actually made you feel really incompetent. And that's the true driver of that stress. So, questioning that and looking at that, well, how could I make myself not feel less competent in this situation? Why do I feel this way? What is it about my thoughts and my natural patterns of thinking that make me feel this way? And am I justified in thinking this way? Is it true? Is the statement I believe about myself true? Can I find evidence to contradict that? Which then in itself will make you feel less stressed. For instance, I'll give you an example. Let me just move out of the sun again.
For instance, let me give you an example. I was feeling very stressed out within our catering business because I was worried about a particular staff member, and I didn't feel that I wanted to become harder as a boss. And so the feelings and the stress that I was feeling around this was more to do with my own concern about whether I was likable or not, whether I would be judged unfairly as, somebody who was too hard or somebody who didn't care. And it was those thoughts and concerns that were actually the true driver of my stress. When I was able to work through that and actually reframe that and look at how I could present what I was needing as a boss in a way that felt ethical, that felt in alignment, that demonstrated that I genuinely do care about this person, it actually alleviated the stress on so many levels. So oftentimes it is really looking at what is causing you stress, but how come is it causing me stress, and reframing that situation. Now, stress and anxiety is such a huge part of endometriosis that I honestly believe it is such a big driver of the condition. I know when I first discovered I had endometriosis, my gynecologist at the time described it as a condition of timeous perfectionism. And to cut a long story short, it basically means we want to do something quickly and perfectly at the same time, and that causes a type of anxiety and stress in the body. Now, what this opened up for me was really this kind of idea that stress and anxiety and feelings around that then respond within the body, and how that affects ultimately our pain levels and our symptoms. And so there is definitely a connection here, and particularly with endometriosis. So I cannot at all tell you a single client that I've worked with who hasn't had some kind of anxiety or stress. So that's why it's such a huge part of what we share with you, as endometriosis advocates and the women out there who are doing similar work to me. It is such a big focus to really shift the mindset, to really shift that stress level, because it is such a big part of the picture. So that's why we incorporate the affirm part of the REACH technique. So REACH stands for replenish, exercise, affirm, cleanse, and help. And these are all the components that we really need to provide for the body from a holistic, natural aspect. And if you want to find out more, we do have a free download all about the REACH technique, which you can grab underneath this video. So those would be my 3 simple steps to get started in using natural methods with endo. And these may feel really logical to you. They may feel overwhelming. So feel free to reach out to me if you want to know more about any of these particular topics. If you feel like you've made some headway with them, we'd love to hear that as well. Your journey is your journey, and I want you to honor whatever you've achieved, whatever you've managed to do. You are an incredible woman. You've suffered a lot, and that strength is something you should really lean on, something that you should really congratulate yourself on, because we endure a lot and yet we still get through. And it's that strength that I want you to use in a positive way to really help yourself feel better, to get better, and to give you that motivation to really shift your current reality. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.